Welcome back, everyone. While we await the president's announcement today for two new nominees for the Secretary of Defense and the head of the CIA, there are some brand new developments in the Iran nuclear showdown that we wanted to talk to you about. The U.S. is again tightening the economic noose by unleashing new sanctions against Iran. And this time, these sanctions target key industries within the country, making it closer, some say, to a true trade embargo. All this comes amid some new signs that Iran now wants to talk. Joining us now, Peter Brooks, a senior fellow of national security affairs at the Heritage Foundation, former CIA officer as well, and Mark Dubowitz, executive director of the Foundation for Defense of Democracy. So, Mark, New Year, let's take this conversation in a little bit of a different direction. Are these sanctions making us safer now?
Well, Jen, I'm not sure if they're making us safer now. I mean, I think certainly they're getting much more punitive than they've ever been. So whether they're going to break the nuclear will of Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader, remains to be seen. But there's no doubt Congress is moving the administration aggressively in the direction of what is starting to look like a trade embargo on Iran, a non-humanitarian trade embargo.
And explain why that's different than what we've seen before.
Well, the sanctions to date have really targeted individual Iranian companies, but the Iranians are really brilliant at circumventing sanctions and playing a game of catch me if you can by using front companies to circumvent sanctions, go after sectors of the Iranian economy, key industrial sectors like energy and shipbuilding and ports that really provide the revenue and the support that Iran needs for its proliferation activities, for its terrorism, and for its vast system of human rights repression.
Peter, are we just checking the box? Is this just the steps that are necessary towards the run-up to war?
Well, look, Jenna, this is the triumph of hope over experience. I have no problem with tougher sanctions on Iran. It's an important effort. But the fact of the matter is we've been negotiating with Iran since 2003. 2003, that's almost 10 years now. So once again, Iran, as we do these sort of things, the centrifuges continue to spin. They continue to work on their intercontinental ballistic missile program, which many believe they'll have a missile capable of reaching the United States by 2015. We're now closer to that. When are they have a warhead program. I mean, when are they going to get to that point? So the problem here is that we keep talking to Iran. Iran likes to talk to us because it just gives them more time. Time is on their side, and I just don't see this making a huge difference in Iran's nuclear program, and I think this administration's policy has failed so far.
Mark, do you agree?
Well, I do agree with Peter. I mean, so far the sanctions have imposed a severe economic cost on the Iranian economy, but we didn't design sanctions to impose economic costs. We designed sanctions to stop Iran's nuclear weapons program, and there's no evidence to date, as Peter said, that sanctions have actually changed the risk-reward calculus of this regime. I do think what's important is sanctions, coercive diplomacy, and the credible threat of military force. I mean, this administration has to make it very clear, the president, the new Secretary of Defense have to make it very clear that unless Ali Khamenei relents, the United States will destroy militarily Iran's nuclear weapons program.
And I know you both are going to come back and talk to us a little later on about some of these new choices and how it figures into this team that the president is putting together for his second term. Peter, on this, we can't just look at Iran by itself in isolation. We also have to look at what's going on in Syria. President Assad comes out this weekend. He says, I got a new deal for everybody. Come with me. I'll remain in power. Things will be better. How does the Syria issue complicate or figure in to what's going on with Iran in the broader picture of the region?
Well, actually, Iran has tried to tie Syria into the nuclear negotiations. Remember, we talked to them a couple of times last year, I think 3 or so times. We had 3 rounds of talks, and they've tried to include that in it because it's very, very important to them that Syria under Bashar Assad survive what's going on there, because Iran is trying to become the hegemon or the dominant power in that part of the world, and their increasing influence in Iraq, their influence in Syria, and desired influence in Lebanon would give them a tremendous amount of capability and influence in the Middle East. So, yeah, it's very, very important to them, and these two things are connected.
And it brings us back to the conversation, though, the center of all of this, which is whether or not we're safe, and if we're going to be safer in 2013 than we were in 2012. So, Mark, we're hearing again that Iran maybe is giving the indications, maybe if we can believe them, that they want to talk again. How do you proceed?
Well, you know, they've been, as Peter said, they've been talking to us for a decade, and we've gotten no further. Only their nuclear program has gotten further. I think Iran is at the epicenter of this challenge. It represents the most significant threat to American national security. And unfortunately, the administration has really subcontracted our national security to regional players like Qatar and Turkey and others who've been supporting the Islamist forces in Syria. And now we have this competition between an Iran-supported Assad and Islamist-supported al-Qaeda opposition in Syria. We've given no support to the liberal opposition. We've given no support to the moderates. And 60,000 dead Syrians are a testament to the fact that we've provided no support to those who represent American values and represent American values. Peter, I think that's a failure.
Peter, quickly, can we change it? Can we change that path? If you believe what Mark says, is the path changeable as of now?
Well, it's never too late, but I don't think it's going to change. I mean, if you like Egypt, you're going to like Syria because it's going to be worse than Egypt. I don't think any of the futures for Syria are good. In fact, I think they could be much worse than what we're seeing in Egypt today. And this administration just hasn't done a good job on its Middle East policy. We're
going to have you both back to talk about some of these new picks. John Brennan for the CIA, Chuck Hagel for Secretary of Defense, how that potentially could be game changers in all of this. We have a little bit of indication of how you feel already, but we'll have you back anyways next hour to talk more about it. Gentlemen, nice to have you with us today.
All right. Thanks,
Jenna.
Jenna.
Thanks, Peter.